Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to do a WrestleMania preview. We've got a good group on here. We've got Joe Feeney. Hello, how are you?
Wait, I thought this was the St. Patrick's Day party. I got on my fucking shamrock and roll shirt. I got a green bandana going. I got Irish potatoes over here. I thought we were. Did I get my dates confused? What the fuck is going on here?
It's just the Ken Shamrock party. But yeah,
Yes.
so we've got Joe Feeney. Hello.
Hello, hello.
Okay, so we've got Joe Feeney here, and then of course Dennis from American Dirtbags. Dennis, how are you? Oh wait, that's right. Dennis no showed.
What the fuck? Where is he? That's my gimmick.
For people that are listening, and even he himself might be listening and wondering, where's John Wangland? But the thing is, we didn't say to John about coming in to record this segment because I think I can speak for Joe Feeney at this, is that not that we hate wrestling, but we're pretty jaded on it.
Yeah, yeah.
And John's very passionate about wrestling, so we would be on totally different wavelengths. So it's not that we're excluding him; it's just that it wouldn't match really.
Plus, he's a heat seeker now, isn't he?
Yeah, he's probably out there getting into some sort of street war.
Who's he gonna attack next? I mean, you got Kuhn, you got Russo. I mean, he's tagging Vince McMahon in his tweets. Like he's causing all kinds of problems for us.
And he's got an MMA podcast now, so he probably gets stuck into Dana White soon enough.
Yes, yes. I apologize for the tissue, by the way. It never ends, dude. The temperature just went up like 10 degrees here, and I'm all like, fucking hey, finally it's getting warm. Boom, allergies hit. So if I sound like shit, once again, I'm over here with my nose leaking like I just stopped taking perks or something, which I did not, I swear.
Yeah, it's actually it's the Colombian cold you've got from that Shamrock party. I've used that excuse too.
Yes,
So,
sir.
so what we were going to do here was we were going to talk about the confirmed WrestleMania 35 card and the rumors and opinions on each match because I'll always watch WrestleMania, but I truly can't remember a time that I've been less interested in a WrestleMania than I have for this year's one. What about yourself, Joe?
Yeah, you kind of took the words right out of my mouth there, and not to quote Meatloaf or anything, but I'm really not, dude. And I try like when I started Creative Control, I was watching every Raw. I was way into it. I hadn't watched for years. I came back around 2011, and by that time, I started Creative Control in like the fall of 2014. So I've been doing all this fucking podcasting shit for almost 5 years, which is weird. And but I was way more into it back then. I would complain. I'd be your typical kind of internet fan where I bitched a lot, but I enjoyed watching it. And I haven't watched Raw in a while. Like I talked to you on Monday about how I was going to be recording with Conan and Di, and I was trying to squeeze Fastlane and Raw into like a 2 hour window because I'm just not feeling it. And this card, you said we're on similar wavelengths. I think you're going to find that I'm a little more negative than you are actually at this point because this card, I don't see much on there at all that I'm interested in. But of course, we'll get to it match by match.
Yeah, and well, let's start with what seems to be the main event for the men. Let's get woke. Uh, Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins. Now, I personally, I'm going to skip this match because it's going to be either Lesnar wins and the internet freaks out, or Rollins wins and he's just this plain generic baby face. But either way, I don't see it having a positive outcome.
The only thing that I could see that would be positive about it is I saw Lesnar versus Cena versus Rollins actually about at this point about four years ago in Philly when the Rumble was here, the night that Reigns really first started getting booed and all that. They had a three-way match for the title. I think Brock was champion, and it was really really good. So I think Brock and Seth could be a good match. But otherwise, like you said, I haven't cared for him since I don't like him as a baby face. I think King Slayer is fucking stupid. I think the Dragon Slayer is stupid. I think the Beast Slayer, whatever he is anymore, it's not. I just don't get it, and I don't think he's strong enough on the mic to be like a top passionate babyface type. He stammers a lot. I don't like his delivery, and he's very talented. When the Shield first came out, I had friends of mine that watched that were like, this guy's gonna wind up like fucking Evan Bourne. Like he's just a high flyer you're never gonna see again in WWE. And I was like, I don't know, dude. I think he's pretty good. And I knew from his Ring of Honor stuff that his mic work wasn't the greatest. But I was a fan at first, and now I just kind of turned against it because, and I liked his heel run as champion a lot when he had Jamie Noble and Joey Matthews with him as his security and all that. I thought he was great as a heel champion. But this face run is doing nothing for me, and it's probably one of the main reasons I don't watch Raw. I care for it that little.
And on top of that, with Brock Lesnar, it's kind of like my favorite James Bond when I was a kid was Roger Moore. But just say somebody says, "Well, did you hear Roger Moore's coming back to do a new James Bond in 2019?" Now, A, that'd be weird because he's dead, but B, it's also like, but he's too old for it now. And with and this is the thing that Marks need to remember: wrestling is fake, and Brock Lesnar is really, really rich, so he doesn't put the effort in because he doesn't have to. Like, what would you rather do? Go out there and tear your bicep and injure your neck and knock a teeth out for $1 million, or do very little for $1 million?
Yeah. And look, I mean, talking about injuries, look at what just happened to fucking Tommaso Ciampa, who I thought, man, that actually, like, I've been a fan of his for a while, and he was fucking hitting his stride. And although I haven't watched much NXT, I keep up with him a little bit. I know his shit with Gargano was very good and whatever, but he's 33 years old. He's going to have a neck fusion already. You know what I mean? With Lesnar, I think that's kind of an overused stereotype with him, that he's lazy. And it's all because Ambrose called him lazy once in an interview with Austin after their match. He didn't like the match. And I don't think anybody liked that fucking match. It was a big letdown. But when you see Lesnar in there, he's always torn the house down with Cena, no matter what people say about John Cena. Those two fucking killed it. And Cena he was excellent for like his last couple of years of, regular in-ring activity when he was super active doing that US title thing. But Brock, you put him in there with Bryan, you put him in there with Styles, you put him in there with Cena, Reigns even. And his matches are good, but he needs to be in there with someone that can work and kind of motivated to do something with it. I don't think he was that motivated with Ambrose or Strowman even. I think with Rollins and being the fact that it's WrestleMania, that you're going to see Brock do what he does, which is he sells incredibly when he wants to, and he bumps pretty fucking well too. He does that over the top like helicopter bump when he goes over the top rope, and you can tell he has no fucking regard for how he lands, and I love that shit. I think that's great, but I'm not like the typical Twitter wrestling fan that's like, we got to get rid of Brock. We have a champion that's never on TV. It's blah, 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 blah. I like Brock. Brock, to me, makes pay-per-view special, and it's one of the reasons he's one of the only performers I'll get excited to see.
But then again, if that fight with Daniel Cormier is announced / confirmed, Brock's going to do zero that risks any form of injury. He's going to even blink slowly.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's what they said his reason for kind of mailing in with Ambrose was, because he knew his return was coming and it wound up being against Mark Hunt. But, yeah, I'm not a huge UFC guy. I do keep up with it. I'm not that knowledgeable about it, but I watch. And to see him against Cormier or against Jones, again, he's just a draw, dude. He's a draw for me in wrestling and in MMA,
See, until right there, I didn't even consider the thought of John Jones versus Brock Lesnar. Holy shit.
They've talked about it a little bit. That would do a huge fucking number. It just would. I mean, the problem with the UFC right now is kind of the same problem WWE's having. It's just a lack of stars. Like, who are the stars in WWE? Brock, Ronda, people that everyone complains about. In MMA, it's just John Jones, who's always suspended, Cormier, who's on his way out. Like, both sports are having the same issues.
Lesnar versus John Jones would probably be the biggest pro fight since Lennox Lewis versus Mike Tyson.
Exactly. Very good call.
The next match, now this is a weird one, because in 2005, this could have possibly been a contender for maybe greatest match of all time, but it's 14 years later. AJ Styles versus Randy Orton. What's your opinion on that one?
Being a like a reformed Smark, like a lot of my old opinions when I was younger kind of would have went along the same lines. I was a big CM Punk fan. I was a big AJ Styles fan. I watched Ring of Honor. I attended a lot of Philadelphia indie shows. I attended ECW shows. That kind of associating with those shows and seeing those kind of performers kind of forms your wrestling opinion and what you like and what you don't like. So in 2005, I would have said Orton was the shit. He didn't pay his dues. He was WWE cookie cutter guy, whatever. But it's amazing the promo that he caught on SmackDown talking about how long he's been there. Dude's almost been around 20 years when you think about it. He debuted in 2002. That's a long career, and I think eventually he's going to be recognized as top tier, which I mean he already is. But anyway, to sum it up, Orton grew on me. Another guy that when he had that heel title run a few years back, 2014 maybe it was, I thought he was excellent, and that was the first time he had really grown on me. So I think those guys are going to kill it. And actually, now that you mention it, and I'm thinking about it a little bit, that could probably be the match of the card. It really could. AJ is fucking AJ. He is tremendous. He's phenomenal, as they say, and for his age, to still perform like AJ Styles is incredible.
See, this is where I get a little bit conflicted because AJ Styles to me is the equivalent of going to the cinema too early, where it's like just say the new Aston Kutcher action films out, and you say to your bitch your wife, well, and you go, we've got to get there early. It's out.
Yeah.
It's Aston Kutcher. It's going to be great. So you get down there before the doors even open. And in fact, even when you take your seats, the people are still cleaning up the theater. And you're sitting there like, oh, can't wait. And then you're sitting there and the adverts start and then the trailers start. And the fucking company names start. Then the title sequence. And you realize we could have come in here 15 minutes late and missed nothing. And that's exactly what I think about AJ Styles matches.
Yeah, I mean, if it's been surprising to me because while I'm a big fan of his last year was full of these dream matches, right? It was supposed to be Styles and Nakamura was supposed to be the big thing carrying over from New Japan or whatever. That angle everyone was wishing would die, and it was it's an oversized hat. It's funny.
Hey, boy!
And then, you had AJ and Joe. That went on forever. It was pretty good. And then you had AJ and Brian, which one of their matches on pay-per-view was something that didn't work for me. But so I see what you mean. It seems like this last year, some of the matches haven't lived up to what people have wanted, but he's still a great performer. And I still think those guys will probably have the match of the night of that very long 7-hour card that we're all going to subject ourselves to.
But this is the thing. For the AJ Styles, if they could just cut out the headlock part and just, if they take 10 minutes out of his matches, the final 10 minutes are always brilliant. So give him an Orton a 10 to 15 minute match and just get it in it, do the high spots, reverse the finishers, and then we go on to the next one.
There's nothing wrong with a short match. And I think I tweeted something for the Rumble because I did not watch Fastlane. I usually go over my same two friends' houses every month, and I know Joe actually listens to Hughezy now. So what's up, Joe Meyer? But hey, I miss Fastlane. I miss Fastlane, and they're all pissed off at me. But I remember the Rumble. I said not every fucking match has to be a half hour, and the pay-per-view before that was the same thing. Every match was an epic 20, 30-minute match. And I was like, dude, if you keep doing this, nothing's fucking special. And not only that, but it drags ass. You look back at, say, a WrestleMania of the past, and I specifically am thinking of this one. WrestleMania 5, right? Your epic match was Hogan Savage in the main event. It was fucking phenomenal. Undercard, there was Mr. Perfect and the Blue Blazer, Owen Hart, obviously. Those guys had like a 7-minute match, and it was fucking phenomenal. It's probably the best, under 10-minute match you'll ever see in your life. And they crammed it in the 7 minutes, and you know what? They didn't need any more. And sometimes matches don't. And you're right. I wouldn't mind seeing AJ and Randy go 12, but you're going to see 32. So
yeah. Joe Myers is a cunt.
Yeah.
The next match, and this is one that this makes you kind of shake your head. Shane McMahon versus The Miz. Now, the thing that drives me nuts about this is, just to be the usual complaint of, oh, there's so many people not being used. And it's like, when you look at the fact that Bobby Lashley, who actually holds a title belt, and then if you look at people like Mike Kanellis and Apollo Crews and Finn Balor, who really aren't being used at all. The fact that Shane McMahon, who looks like a walking heart attack.
He really does.
Got a match announced so early for Mania, and this is going to be on the main card against The Miz, who, frankly, The Miz as a babyface doesn't work.
Right.
Because then he's just a boastful Hollywood cunt. So he's Amy Schumer.
He I was saying this to Conan and Di the other day, and they both disagree with me. The same thing, that he's not. Miz is a face. I don't know, and they're like, well, the crowd is finally taking to him in that way, and whatever, whatever. I don't know. It doesn't work for me. You know what? We know what's going to happen. Shane's going to do something nuts. Here's another one that we should keep under 15 minutes, but they're probably not gonna. And but I will say again, like the Miz in the past years is another guy that finally grew on me, and like as a complete performer and everything. It took me a while to come around with him, but I think he's very good. I don't understand Miz as a face. It's never made sense to me.
Yeah, for what they need to do for this match is keep it like sort of short street fight type thing. Like I don't know if you remember JBL versus Fit Finley. And they knew going into that one, I think I was at Mania 24, and they knew it wasn't going to be like a fucking technical masterpiece. So give them the chairs, give them the baseball bats or whatever. So I say keep this one short and maybe open the card with it, let the Miz go over, and then move us into the next match.
Yeah, and although I wouldn't necessarily associate Miz with like hardcore and big bumps and you know what I mean, it's just not his. And hey, you know what? He's a guy like he said before. He's never been injured and shit. And there's a reason for that. But yeah, enough plunder and all that bullshit. And they can have some fun with it, especially Shane. You know, he'll be going through the goddamn, doing his elbow drop through the table and whatever else. You know.
Well, one match we do know is going to be a no disqualification or no holds barred or whatever. Triple H versus Drax the Destroyer himself, Batista.
Yeah, I was happy to see it. I was happy to see him come back. And again, being the kind of negative internet voice that I was, when Batista was around a few years ago, I was all about fucking hashtag Batista and all this shit. And I was totally against it. I wanted Bryan to get a spot, and Batista was taking it, and blah, 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 blah. You know, that's just how I felt back then. But as he worked that year, and he was only around 4 or 5 months when he reunited with Evolution, had some matches with the Shield, had some matches with Bryan, whatever. He wound up being fucking pretty good, and his heel promos were way better than whatever they were trying to do with him before that. So he's come back as a heel. I think that's great. I don't know how easy on the eyes of the match is going to be. Hopefully he's got himself, you know. There's got to, I wish he had like a warm up. I wish they would have he should have wrestled at Fastlane, something like that, because it took him a while to get in the groove back then, and he's older now. He's 4 or 5 years older, so I don't know how good it's going to be. But with Hunter in there, you know, he can set up a match and carry on to anything. I mean, look at his match with Sting a few years back. Sting, who everybody thought was washed up, and those guys had a hell of a match, hell of a spectacle.
But then we've also got to remember the last time Triple H wrestled was at the Muslim Mania, I think it was called, or Crown Jewel or something.
Something like that.
And they did Triple H against the Undertaker and Kane. Triple H and Shawn Michaels. And Triple H badly injured himself from a very, very small bump. And that's a sign that when you're approaching 50, maybe powerlifting and doing that sort of shit isn't for you. But it also, what pisses me off about this match is one, it's a spoiler for Avengers because Marvel have this contract clause where you're not allowed to do any sort of physical sports that could cause injury. So Batista definitely gets killed off in Endgame.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, do you remember the whole big deal that WWE made? Said, oh, we're making changes and it's going to be different from now on. We're going to listen to the fans.
Hey, yep.
So they're going right back to the two part-timers taking up the big spot in the card. They're going to earn fucking millions while Mike Kanellis is backstage not getting pushed because his wife is good looking. And that's the truth.
Well, one thing to look at is, and I wasn't a big Batista fan during his big run, you know, in the mid 2000s when he was champion and all that. Actually, up to when did he leave? 2009, something like that. But anyway, the main event with Batista versus Hunter did a huge fucking number at that time when they weren't necessarily breaking 1 million buys or whatever. And I'm pretty sure those guys, if they didn't break 1 million, it was the top WrestleMania as far as a buy rate, probably all through the 2000s. And whatever WrestleMania that was, the Batista and Hunter headline, they were drawing big numbers.
True, but I don't know. It's a very weird build-up that Batista's coming in as a heel, and I don't know. Do you see Triple H going over?
Probably. Probably only because he's coming in and out. Batista's not going to stick around. The original build up on that SmackDown promo was Batista kind of jabbing him and saying, "You've never beat me. It's the only thing you've never done." He's going to be coming out to get revenge for Flair. Flair's probably going to come out and do something, whether it's hit Batista in the dick or whatever. I would definitely, yeah, I would say Hunter wins. And a side note, the only money I've ever won gambling on wrestling. That's right, I gambled on a pro wrestling match because you can gamble on these European gambling sites. They had Sting as a strong favorite against Triple H a few years ago at WrestleMania, and I went, there is no way Sting's coming in. They never put WCW guys over. And sure enough, I won $800 on a fucking fake match betting on Hunter. That was tremendous.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just have a feeling that this match is going to cause more drama than needed online. All the marks complaining like, Triple H is a mark and he just wants to go over. But I have a feeling they're going to add a retirement stipulation to this. So Batista loses at Mania, retires, and then for Mania 36, 36 goes into the Hall of Fame.
It's too bad because one of the things we've never seen and kind of would have made sense at one point was Brock and Batista. They'll never do that now. You talk about Brock and Lashley, which we'll probably never see now. Two big matches that would have made sense. MMA, backgrounds. Brock, former UFC champion, Batista's wrestled or fought for, MMA, had one fight. Lashley was very successful in Bellator. But that's too bad. And it's weird you mentioned the internet and Triple H because, he's hated for, some of these spots where he comes in and has the big match, but he's also the guy that runs NXT. So they love him too. So they can't make up their mind,
But it's funny you mentioned Lashley and Batista there because as we both know, not that we care, but they're people of color. Speaking of people of color, the next match...
Batista is what is he, Filipino or what's funny about him is I used to hear that no matter what, like if they would go to the Philippines or Greece or something, then they would just say Batista was Greek, or if he they go to the like they took advantage of him because they really could use him as any nationality in certain parts of Europe and stuff, and they would definitely push it that way to try to sell tickets like, hey, here's he's one of you, that kind of thing.
But speaking of people of color, the next match, Kofi Kingston, he's the black one, versus Daniel Bryan. Now, there's a lot of people that say this isn't a WrestleMania match. And I'm going to say I think this could be fucking brilliant. I think it's pretty obvious that Kofi's going to get the belt. I think if they could put this match on third into the card and give them 25 minutes, and it's as fast-paced as they were able to do at Elimination Chamber.
Yeah,
I honestly think they could tear the house down.
I'm kind of sour on this one, and that's the old fart in me going, this isn't a WrestleMania match. You know what I mean? I wish they would have saved this and built the Kofi Kingston title win for like fucking SummerSlam or something else, and saved AJ and Bryan as your big WrestleMania dream match. But that's not what happened. So that being said, I think you're right that it could be pretty great, and I think they're going to build to a big Kofi Kingston win, and the crowd's going to go nuts. It's just not something that I saw coming. It's not something that I'm too invested in. Not that I'm not a Kofi Kingston fan. He's always been good. I never saw him in that spot. And it seems like the crowd these days, even if someone's not talented enough to be in the spot, as long as they feel like they're in control and they're getting behind the person and pushing them, they just want to be in control. And even if someone's not a main eventer, Becky Lynch or Kofi Kingston, because the crowd wants to feel like they're making the choices, they'll back the shit out of somebody until they get somewhere. So it's probably going to be a good match. It's going to be a good story, but I still don't see it as WrestleMania worthy. Just my opinion.
What you said there was quite problematic, and that you named a woman and the person of color.
Yes.
But no, I think that it's one of these weird things where even though wrestling's fake, spoiler alert, but I think that Kofi's one of these people who actually does deserve it. Because he's worked his arse off for years, and then there's that weird period where for WWE made him a jobber for like 2 years straight.
Yeah.
And then New Day formed, and I just think it's time. And But the thing that's going to ruin it is they're really going to push the fact that, oh, this is history. This is history. The first ever black WWE champion. And then they're going to have Mark Henry talk about it. They're going to have Booker T talk about it and The Rock. And they're all going to have to act like they were never champion. And it's just, that's the thing that I'm dreading.
If I was to pick someone from the New Day to push like that and like Kofi's going to get, it would be Big E. And I've been saying that for a few years, that I thought Big E, that he's got the charisma, he's got the in-ring ability, and he's got the size that you would think by now he would have split off and done something, but it just hasn't happened. And I never would have expected it for them to do it with Kofi. But yeah, it's going to be good. It's just not what I expected.
Well, speaking of good, because this next match I do genuinely think will be brilliant. But, and we'll talk about the but in a minute, but Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey. Now, for the longest time, it was Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair. No, it was Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey, which would have been brilliant by itself. But now they've added Charlotte Flair. So I always say that's like having your favorite pizza and getting a bonus cheeseburger on the side. Like, you might not think you want it, but then once it's there, you go, oh, fuck yes. But here's my issue with this storyline. WrestleMania isn't for what, another 4 weeks or something?
About that, yeah.
How can they keep this storyline going for 4 more TVs?
That's a good
because for me, it's almost like they should keep them off TV.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt to have Ronda say, "I'm getting the fuck out of here." You know, I'm only even have her. I don't know how many dates she's contracted for, but bring that into it. You guys aren't paying me enough to be here. You want me to be here for some more dates? You got to give me some more money, and if not, I'm going home till the big show. Kind of like Brock, you know. And I wouldn't mind seeing. See, there you go. Send Ronda home. I'm not coming because the pay's not there, and I've already fulfilled my dates. And have Heyman talk for her. You know what I mean? I think Heyman with Ronda and Brock, just for a few weeks, the two of them standing behind him would be fucking awesome, right? And, I mean, that's one way to go about it. It'd certainly be a better way than having Becky Lynch with her stupid fucking walk to the ring that drives me crazy and the man and her shitty promos for the next 4 weeks for me to have to deal with. But I'm just, it's definitely this match and this series of events that made me realize I'm not in line with a lot of the internet fan think anymore, because I never really I liked when Becky turned heel last year on Charlotte. I thought that was a great moment, but I don't see her as the one who should be facing Rousey. I think it should be Charlotte, and I think that anyone on Twitter and stuff that keeps going that thinks it's somehow a bad thing to add Charlotte Flair to a main event title match, like that's not going to improve the match, is crazy. And just again, they want to be in control. We want the Becky match, and if anyone tries to fuck with it or whatever, then they throw their little tantrums. But I think it's going to be good. I think especially if the great Hurricane Shane Helms helps lay it out from the Creative Control Network. He's a great guy. I don't know who lays their women's matches out, but no, it's going to be great. And I think people are now there's some chatter that it might not main event, and I think that's fucking stupid. I think there's nothing else that could or should main event the show at the time.
Yeah, I think I seen Ryan Satin write that, but I think he's just saying that for attention, for a real change. But I do think, though, that one of the problems with this match that we're going into is pretty much every Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair match was at least 4 stars. And then the Survivor Series, they did Flair versus Rousey, and it was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
So I really don't think there's a chance this match is going to meet the expectations of fans, and then you're going to get the usual marks going, it wasn't perfect.
I would love it, and it goes against, like, the good storytelling, again, would have Kofi win his match and would have Becky win this match. That's the logical way to do it. It's WrestleMania. The people should get what they want to see. But at the same time, the dickhead in me would love to see Ronda make Becky tap, or Charlotte, submit Ronda with the figure 8 or whatever, and Becky just kind of standing there like, oh shit, and the crowd just fucking collectively having a big crying fit would be fun for me. But
that's something that the marks need to be ready for, because I as I said earlier, I'm kind of a jaded fan, but I thought that last year going into WrestleMania 34, that was the best lineup for WrestleMania I'd seen in years. The build up for I'd say 80% of the matches was brilliant. I couldn't wait to see them. And then match after match, it was the result that people didn't want. People wanted Miz to keep the belt, the IC belt he lost. Fucking Charlotte beat Asuka, which people didn't want to see. Styles beat Nakamura, which nobody wanted to see. People actually did want to see Reigns beat Lesnar because they knew Lesnar was leaving at the time. So it was just, I said to people, just be ready. Don't mark the fuck out. Well, don't mark out. They're going to mark out.
Lesnar won, right?
Yeah, and
he beat him bloody and then threw the belt at McMahon afterwards or whatever.
Such an awful match that.
Yeah.
But we've now come to the rumored matches, and this is the crazy thing because usually with WrestleMania, you know by late January what the card's going to be. But WWE have been hinting at so many different matches that it's really hard to predict. So here's some of the rumors that I've heard that seem the most likely. Samoa Joe versus John Cena. Now, I want to see that. But at the same time, Cena hasn't wrestled since the Australia show. And even at that, no, wait, he was back after that, wasn't
he? I don't remember.
No.
I don't remember. He didn't do the Rumble, right? He wasn't around for that.
No. Cena was back for the Australia Stadium show.
Mm-hmm.
And even at that, it was a tag match, and he barely did anything. So he really hasn't wrestled in over 7 or 8 months. So to have him go in there against a guy like Samoa Joe, who works pretty stiff, and of course ended Tyson Fury's career, whatever his name is.
Tyson Kidd.
Yeah, and this will be Samoa Joe's first Mania because he wasn't on the main roster 2 years ago. Last year he was injured. So This is going to be his first one. So he's going to be going all out.
And again, Conan and DI fucking busted my balls yesterday. Like nobody else knows this shit, and I'm uber fucking nerd. But I was saying that people have wanted to see this match because they know that these guys have a history and that they train together. With I can't remember the name of the fucking place. Some California. What the fuck was it? Not APW. Anyway, nobody remembers that. I'm like, I guarantee you they're gonna bring this up in the fucking story, dickheads. But I think it'll be good, and obviously it'll be good. I mean, I'm with you a little bit on Cena. You know, I'm a big believer in Big Match John. I think he can make it happen, but he's getting older too. And but I think if he's in there with Joe and they're buddies, and it's WrestleMania, that he'll be able to bring it, and that could be up there with Orton and Styles as a match that could possibly steal the show as well.
It could, but I just hope that because see the problem with a lot of these big films, because he's getting ready to do the Duke Nukem film.
Oh yeah.
That they may have him on a contract where they're like, "Don't get fucking injured, you idiot," because then it'll delay the thing. What is your prediction for what Asuka might do? Because I'm thinking it might be some sort of Asuka versus Mandy Rose versus Sonya Deville match, which I honestly would like to see.
When I've looked at some of the speculation in the predicted cards, I've seen Asuka versus Mandy Rose, but I'm inclined to agree with you that it'll be some kind of multi-woman match. And although I wouldn't mind seeing Asuka just versus Mandy, I didn't watch their match they just had, so except for like a few minutes of it. But I don't know. That's going to be super low on the card, I think, because Asuka, I don't know, man. She'll have a big program after Mania, though, because if you remember, she did beat Becky Lynch at the Rumble, which puts her first in line for Becky's first title defense when she wins, if that's the route they go. So whatever they do, the logical thing to do would be to put her over strong at Mania. So bless you. I'm sneezing dust bunnies.
God damn it, brother. But I just think it's a shame that they missed out on the opportunity for Asuka versus Charlotte Flair too.
Yeah, bless you again. And I don't know, they kind of fucked that up the first time, but to kind of go in a circle here, the reason that Charlotte beat her last year was to set up Charlotte versus Ronda. That was a plan a year in advance, and that's kind of what she's doing there too. Sure, she was told, and Ronda was probably told too, hey, this is what we're going to do. You know, big money motherfuckers like Ronda or Brock, they like to know what they're going to do, and they don't like things being changed. So if Ronda was told, hey, you got Charlotte next year, that's probably what she wants to do. So, but that's what happened with Asuka and Charlotte. Charlotte went over because they were setting her up for Rousey the following year, which they already planned to have main event. It's funny how they planned all that without even seeing Ronda really in the ring more than one or two times. But whatever happens with Asuka, she should go over very, very strong just to be ready for Becky after Mania.
This match is more than likely going to be a ladder match that's rumored. The Hardys versus the Usos.
And I would like to see Owens and Zayn get thrown in there because maybe you're going to tell me something different, but I haven't seen Owens really rumored for anything. Has he been?
No.
So you throw Owens and Zayn in there. I mean, those guys they've done some great shit with ladders throughout the years, but and they need to get these guys on the card, There's going to be a lot of these multi-team or multi-person matches. But if it was to just be the Usos and the Hardys, I'm sure that would be pretty fantastic. And you'd have to go Usos, because what's the point of putting the Hardys over at Mania yet again in 2019?
And I just think that it's crazy when you look at the roster, and there's they have too many people in that company. Like, there's so many. Like, what are they going to do with the U.S. title? Samoa Joe and Cena, but what are they going to do with the Raw tag titles or the Intercontinental Championship? Like, there's too many people, and it's just going to be 4-ways and triple threats and all this stuff back to back to back. Like, I just can't see it working.
And the big Andre Battle Royal for everybody else that doesn't have anything to do. But yeah, you mentioned tag teams and shit. Now, I haven't been watching, but I'm sure that they have their fans wondering what's Ricochet going to do, what's Aleister Black going to do, EC3 they're not doing anything with. But they brought all these guys up from NXT, and it really wasn't necessary. Like you said, the roster's pretty stacked, and now you have these guys, what are you going to do with them? But, it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, it's a great thing for fans when it comes to the computer games, because there's so many people to pick from, Yeah. But here's the other big rumored match. Now, this could be brilliant, or it could be a bit of a disaster. But the rumor I read earlier is that Kurt Angle's final official retirement match is going to be against Roman Reigns. What's your take on that one?
It could be. I also heard it could be Angle Cena to go full circle, because Angle was Cena's first match rather, and to have John put Angle over on the way out, even though he's retiring, would be a good little feel good moment. With Reigns, weren't they set up Reigns and McIntyre though?
I think so, but you can never tell with WWE.
Reigns Angle would be great, because that is in its own way, a dream match. And I think, Kurt's a lot slower. He's broken down. He's had a lot of injuries, but under the lights and shit, he turns it on. And I think Roman would be a great opponent for him. But you have to think, what happens there. I think the nice thing to do, the good idea would be for Kurt to win on his way out. But in wrestling, sometimes that's not the way it goes. The point of losing on your way out is to get someone else, push them above you. But Roman doesn't need that. But I don't see, Kurt Angle tapping Roman Reigns at WrestleMania either.
Yeah, I just think that, but I do think that could be a pretty good match. But I've got to say, thank fuck Kurt Angle's retiring. Because if you've noticed, he literally can't stand up straight. Like, because of his bad legs, he stands slightly crouched down.
And you can tell these guys that have had back and neck injuries and stuff like that. Kurt was a like on the money, solid, like 6 feet tall in like 99 and 2000, his prime and shit. You see him now next to certain guys, and he looks like he's fucking 5'6", dude. He looks real short, and it's all because of the spinal and neck injuries and all that. So, yeah, he's looking hunched over. He's looking slow. He's looking. He's taken some bumps since he came back that were so painful looking, and it's just, you can tell that he's just taking them awkwardly because he hurts so much everywhere that he's trying to find the right way to bump without really hurting himself. But Yeah, it's a good story. Hopefully, he's got the right opponent.
And I think it's fair to say that while we may seem a little negative about these matches, at the end of the day, we are going to watch. So it's not like we're shitting on it. We're shitting on it, but we still want to see it. We're just going into it as jaded fans. Like we've seen a lot. So we're sound negative, but we're not, you know?
I I go in it with high hopes and my expectations. I try to keep them low so that way I'm pleasantly surprised. But it is like you said at the top of the show, man. It's not a card where I go, I can't wait to see that, and I can't wait to see that, except for like one or two things. Unlike last year where you said the whole card was kind of like top to bottom, like oh shit. This year it's just kind of
Yeah, it's definitely not a great one. But at the end of the day, we're all going to watch, and I think we should end by doing a big 3, 2, 1, yay, WrestleMania.
all right.
So, right. 3, 2, 1, yay,
Yeah.
WrestleMania.
Woo.